Everyone thinks being home alone means peace and quiet until the silence starts speaking. I'm not someone who scares easily, but looking back, I should have seen the signs. After the divorce, I needed space to think, so I booked a cheap cabin in the Poconos for a week. It was $150 on a discount. Cite no reviews, but the photos showed a quiet lake view. When I arrived, the key was under a sodden, frayed welcome mat. My sister, on the phone, said the cleaner probably forgot to swap it after rain, which felt thin, but I was just glad to be alone. The first thing I noticed inside was the cold. The thermostat read 70, but the air was brittle, and when I touched the stone fireplace, my fingers came away damp with a sharp mineral smell. On the second day, while sweeping up pine needles I tracked in, I found a plastic hair clip under the bed. It was bright pink with a daisy, the kind a kid might wear. I tossed it in the trash, figuring a previous family left it. That evening, the sky turned iron gray, and the radio warned of a severe storm. I didn't think much of it until the power blinked out around midnight. My phone had no bars. The landline on the wall was dead, no dial tone. I tried the front door, but the wind was howling so fiercely it felt like a wall. The road was a steep, unpaved track through the woods in that rain. It would be a river of mud. I was locked in. I lit a candle and sat at the kitchen table. The first noise was a soft thump against the side of the cabin, a fallen branch. I reasoned, then a rhythmic scraping, like something being dragged across the porch. I peeked through the curtain, but saw only darkness and sheeting rain. My heart was thudding, but I told myself it was the storm. On outer latte, I heard footsteps, distinct, heavy steps on the wooden deck. They circled the cabin slowly. I froze, listening. They stopped right outside the bedroom window. I held my breath. Then a new sound. The faint click of a latch. The shed out back. I'd never checked it. The rational part of my brain was crumbling. It's an animal, I whispered, or the wind rattling a loose door. But then I saw a shadow pass by the living room window, a tall, human-shaped silhouette, pausing for a moment before moving on. There was no way to explain that silhouette. Dawn came, gray and washed out. The rain had stopped, but the woods were steaming. I was exhausted, clutching a kitchen knife, waiting for daylight to leave. I peered out the back window toward the tree line, and I saw him, a man standing perfectly still between two pines about 50 yards away. He was wearing dark clothing and holding binoculars to his face, pointed directly at the cabin. He didn't move, not a twitch. I watched for 10 minutes, and he remained a statue, just watching. The chill from the damp stone fireplace seemed to seep into my bones. Without thinking, I ran, not out the front, but out the back door, away from his line of sight, crashing through the wet underbrush toward the road. I didn't look back. I just ran until my lungs burned, and I flagged down a logging truck on the main highway. The state police took me seriously. They searched the cabin. In the shed, they found a locked metal footlock. Inside were folders, photographs of people, mostly solo travelers like me, taken from a distance at the cabin. Dates went back 6 years. There were also IDs, cheap jewelry, and that same pink daisy hair clip matched to a missing 9-year-old girl from a camping trip 2 states over. The year prior, the detective told me the cabin had been rented under different aliases online for years. They never found the man. The file remains open, with similar disappearances linked to remote rentals in 3 other states. I sometimes wonder about the people in those photos. How many of them rationalize the cold, the footsteps, the shadow? The cabin is still listed for rent. I checked last month, It has 5 new 5-star reviews. I was behind on rent, so when my old college friend Mike suggested a cheap ski weekend, I jumped ship. The lodge was $50 a night. Lift tickets included cash only. The owner, an older man named Carl, met us at the door, his handshake limp. He showed us to a room that smelled of pine cleaner and mothballs. Mike joked about the vintage vibe. The first odd thing was the clock. Every clock in the place was set exactly 5 minutes fast. Carl said it was to help guests catch the first lift, which made sense, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. That night, after skiing, Mike found a notepad in the bedside drawer. The top page had a list of dates from the past winter, each with a single word like quiet or cooperative. We laughed it off as Carl's guest log, but then the snow started. It came down heavy, and by morning, the news said the road to the valley was closed to avalanche risk. No plows for at least 24 hours. We were stuck, Carl assured us. The generator had fuel. Mike, ever optimistic, said we'd just ski more. I felt a knot in my stomach, thinking about my empty bank account back home. The first day stranded was fine. The second, the generator failed for an hour. Carl fixed it, humming tunelessly. That evening, I noticed the deadbolt on our room door had fresh scratches around the keyhole, like someone had tried to pick it. Mike said it was probably from a previous guest locking themselves out. I tried to believe him. Later, from the window, I saw Carl in the parking lot, sweeping snow off a single car not. His truck, but a sedan with out-of-state plates. It wasn't there the day we arrived. When I asked, he said a guest left it before the storm, but we hadn't seen another soul. That night, I heard footsteps in the hall, stopping at each door, a soft rattle of a doorknob. My breath caught. Mike snored through it. It's just the old building settling, I told myself. But then, early morning, I went to the common kitchen. Carl was there, staring out the window at the blizzard. He turned slowly and said, "You boys are a good guess." Quiet. The word from the notepad. I backed out, my skin crawling. If you're finding these stories unsettling, please like and subscribe for more tales like these. On the third stranded day, Mike and I decided to demand Carl call for a snowcat or something. We couldn't find him. The office was locked. We searched the lodge, and that's when I saw it through a basement window. Carl was outside in the storm, wearing only a flannel shirt. He was walking methodically along the perimeter of the building, whistling "You Are My Sunshine" with perfect cheer. He stopped at every exterior door, produced a key from his pocket, and locked the top bolt, bottom bolt, chain. He tested each one with a firm tug. He was locking us in from the outside. Inga blizzard, whistling like it was a spring day. We were on the second floor, but all the ground floor exits were being sealed. I grabbed Mike and ran for the fire escape at the end of the hall. It was frozen shut. I slammed my shoulder into it, and it gave with a scream of rust. We half fell into a snowdrift and ran for the tree line. We hiked to a ranger station. The police investigated. After the thaw, they found the sedan in the parking lot, registered to a man who'd gone missing from a neighboring ski area 2 months prior. In a large basement, behind a false wall, they discovered a small room with supplies, canned food, water, and a stack of local newspapers dating back years, all with circled classified ads for roommates or cheap rentals. Carl was gone. The lodge had changed hands 3 times in the past decade, but police reports showed a pattern. Every winter, at least one solo traveler or pair would report odd occurrences, but no formal complaints were ever filed until ooze. Mike and I don't talk much anymore. I keep thinking about that list of words. Cooperative. I wonder what happened to the quiet ones. Between jobs, I agreed to house sit for my aunt while she was on a cruise. Her place was a 1970s split level in a quiet suburb, free rent for a month. I'm pragmatic, not superstitious. The first night, I heard the furnace kick on with a deep rumble. Normal. But then, around 2 a.m., I heard distinct footsteps from the basement, heavy, like someone walking on concrete. I texted my aunt. She said it was just the pipes knocking. I believed her. The next morning, I went down to check. The basement was unfinished, dusty, and cold. I saw nothing out of place. A few days later, I found a box of old papers in the hall closet. Among them was a faded newspaper clipping from 1998 about a missing boy in the neighborhood, his bike found near the creek behind the houses. My aunt never mentioned it. That same day, a winter ice storm warning came through. By evening, the roads were glazed and the power flickered out. The landline was dead, my cell battery low. I was alone in a dark, silent house, miles from anyone I knew. The loneliness I'd been fighting since my layoff settled in like a weight. I lit candles. The footsteps started again, but now they were closer on the stairs leading up from the basement. Thump, 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 thump. Pause. Then a dragging sound. The house is settling, I said aloud, my voice shaky. I grabbed a flashlight and crept to the top of the basement stairs. The door was shut. I put my ear to it. Silence. I opened it slowly. The beam of my light cut through the darkness, revealing the empty stairs. I went down, sweeping the light. Everything was as before. The washer, the dryer, the dusty floor, but the air was colder, biting. I shone the light at the floor. The dust was undisturbed. New footprints. I sighed, relieved. But as I turned to leave, I heard a whisper from the far corner, a voice so faint it could have been the wind. Help me. I bolted upstairs, slamming the door. My logic fought back. Its stress, auditory hallucination. But then the footsteps returned, this time overhead, in the attic. I don't have an attic access in that house. I checked the blueprints my aunt left. There is no attic. I called the police. When they arrived, the power was back on. I explained everything, feeling foolish. The officers humored me and checked the basement. One of them, a sergeant with graying hair, asked me to show him where I heard the whisper. I pointed to the corner. He shone his high-powered flashlight there. The concrete floor was covered in a uniform layer of fine gray dust. See? I said. No footprints. He knelt, examining the dust. Then he looked up. He's Fossey Polly. Ma'am, he said quietly, there are no footprints now. But look. He pointed his light at a patch near the wall. Pressed into the dust, clear as day, was the imprint of a small, bare-footed child's foot. And it was fresh, because the dust around it was still settling. But there was no path to it. The print just existed, 5 feet from the stairs, with no other marks leading to or from it. The police filed a report. They brought in a paranormal investigation team as a courtesy, but my aunt wanted it hushed. The team recorded EVP sessions, a child's voice saying cold and trapped. They found no evidence of intrusion or hoax. The sergeant later told me off the record that his grandfather, who was on the force in the 70s, as he had a case file on that missing boy. The boy's family lived 2 houses down, but the boy was last seen playing near my aunt's property line. The case was never solved. The house has had 3 owners since it was built. All reported unexplained noises and cold spots. The police log has 9 non-emergency calls from this address over 20 years. My aunt sold the house last year. The new family has a little boy. I see him riding his bike in the driveway sometimes. I never told them. What would I say? Thanks for listening to these stories. If they stuck with you, please like, comment, and share with someone who understands that home isn't always where the heart is.